Cryforth, once home to the most wondrous kingdom the world had ever known, blasted to nothing in just a fortnight. It is here that the fiends of hell walk among us. It is here where all things die. Welcome to Cryforth. Demon invaders roam the landscape and have conquered all. The world is a ravaged and wrathful wasteland where the old world lies buried beneath the blood and sand with its gods and its secrets. Water is fought over with blood and steel. Compatible with the 5th edition of the world's oldest fantasy role-playing game, this book contains all new character creation options, including all of the familiar classes with new aspects befitting the ravaged wastelands of Cryforth, along with new backgrounds, subclasses, spells, feats, and so much more. New races will allow you to play as the Cursed Ash Elves, the Forsaken Humans, the Primordial Incarnate, the Proud Orcs, the Reptilian Suri, or the Infernal-Blooded Tieflings. New game mechanics such as blood, grit, and effort give your games an intense focus on lethality and survival. Numerous role tables full of ideas to help bring your games to life. Featuring incredible thematic art by Brandish Gilhelm of Rulehammer Games, as well as Lloyd Collins. The people of Cryforth are not heroes. In Cryforth it is courage just to survive. Will you rise to face the tide of demons, or will you succumb to the hostile elements? Available now on DriveThruRPG.com.
A mysterious death curse washes over the land, driven by a powerful artifact known as the Soulmonger. 4 would-be heroes had been sent to the jungles of Chult to destroy the cause of this terrible affliction. Vale, the half-elven paladin, who's just now learning of his divinely granted powers. Ubo, the total monk from a distant land, who's as quick with his wit as he is with his staff. Asimar Warlock, sent on this quest by Hotella, discovering herself in this strange new land. And Gunslinger Cole, tiefling artificer and archaeologist who may just dig up more than she bargained for. This motley band of adventurers must work together to brave the poisonous plants, venomous monsters, thundering dinosaurs, and rotting undead of the jungle. Join the omnipotent dungeon master Jake from Mini-Terrain Domain to see if our heroes can find the Soulmonger, uncover the deeper mysteries of Chult, and free the world from the death curse. Welcome to the jungle. Welcome to Chult of Personality.
Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini-Terrain Domain, and this is Chult of Personality, our Tomb of Annihilation Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaign, where we are on episode 28, Aarakocra's Eye View. That's a bit of a mouthful. So here we are on our second week on our new time slot on Sunday nights at 8:30, and as you can tell from the overlay and the vacant stare of Mr. Mike the Piper, Vale will not be with us tonight. He is honeymooning, or rather Mike is honeymooning. Honeymooning, not moonlighting. He's actually on his honeymoon, bit of a delayed honeymoon. So he will not be with us this week, and we'll see if he's going to make it back in time to control Vale's fate next week. This is, as I said, our Tomb of Annihilation campaign, where we have been playing for many months, many sessions, and we are going to jump over to Marquise in a moment for a recap. Quick reminder or note for people who might be new to the stream. you might notice here in the middle we have a little thing called domain dice. We started that in our Thursday night Sunless Citadel campaign, where it's pretty popular over there. No obligation, but if you want to help contribute to the fate of the characters, for 500 bits on Twitch or a $5 donation on Twitch or through Super Chat, the players can earn domain dice. Each one of those can be re-rolled by any player. It's a pool available to the entire party. They can choose to use it to re-roll, or they can force me, the DM, to re-roll one of my rolls. So those are available, and I've given them, as we're picking up audience involvement for a couple sessions, I'm going to roll a d4 at the start of the session and see how many domain dice you get. So you pick up 3 more domain dice. So we're going to pop you guys up to 4 domain dice. And those are available for any of you to use. But once they're gone until the audience donates. With that said, we're going to go around the horn and everybody introduce yourself. Tell us a thing about your character. Plug anything you want to plug. And Marquise, we're going to end with you, and you can just roll right into a recap. So first up, it's going to be Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan. I am one half of the YouTube channel Dice on Ice, where we do live plays, but in hopefully a few weeks, there will be a video on there that is a bit different from my other ones, so tune in for that. And tonight I will be playing Brilinia, the Azumar Warlock. I'm very excited to get back into this. So.
All right, next up is Drake.
Hey guys, I'm Drake. I run the YouTube channel The RPG Construct, working on some new content for that eventually here. I am playing Ubo, the Turtle Monk. He recently spent some time in the belly of an undead T-Rex, enjoyed the hell out of that. And looking forward to see what Jake's going to throw at us this time.
All right, sorry, there's a weird glitch on the overlay that I can't figure out. Just trying to get past it. No worries. And finally, for tonight's session, we've got Marquise.
Hey everyone, I'm Marquise. Find me at scavengerworld.net and scavengerworld.net for some very interesting stuff going on. I play Dunala, Wanti Sorcerer, Shadow Sorcerer, I believe. Got some fun stuff going on with him that Drake does not care about, which makes it even better.
All right, go ahead and roll into a recap there, Marquise, for a point of inspiration.
So here's the thing: is last week Dunala was chilling, right? He gets off of these parapets because Solida's off doing dumb Solida shit again. But as he's doing that, he hears the most rude, disgusting thing going outside the gates, and that's this giant undead T-Rex gagging and lagging and all kinds of deep throaty stuff as Ubo goes sliding up and down in there. Vorn's hand following after him, just in and out of this thing's disgusting throat. Eventually, by the time they stopped, it turns out that Dunala has killed Solida after she stabbed him, because Dunala said he would have to kill her if she tried to run and stab him again, which she did. It has to be put on record. Immediately after Ubo's lewd, disgusting acts, unsafe for children, his airship comes in shooting harpoons, and they see dragon bait. Dunala knows dragon bait just because, you know, the whole goblin thing, but didn't know these other peeps that were on this John, right? So this thing begins to land, and Brilinia runs over there because she's fangirling, because she sees Artist Simber, and then she sees the hag, and she's like, why are these hags here? Turns out dragon bait ripped out all of their tongues and whooped their ass, and now they work for Artist Simber. So that's pretty nice. But now we got this cool flying ship. We couldn't bring Vorn because Vorn's too big. Brilinia was mildly disturbed by the fact that Dunala had killed Solida. That'll be a bigger problem in the future, Dunala is sure, but he'll handle that when it comes time to cross that bridge. Vera wasn't too happy either, but he's never very happy because him and Brilinia haven't gotten married, made a honey bee house or whatever yet. But regardless, we talked to Artist, and he was like, so we can either go back to the port, or we can go fly into this princess of everything woman, girl, princess thing. Donala said that was a terrible idea, Doc. I'm wanted for a whole bunch of things. They'll put me in the slammer. I'll be the chair for me in a few days. I know it. But even though Ubo still wanted to go for some reason after that, it turns out we're going to go see this cool princess girl and work on Vale's Oopal Jesus cosplay. So that's my session.
All right, recap from Marquise for a point of inspiration. Remember that you have that before you start dipping into the party's domain dice. Or don't. Burn through the domain dice. I don't care.
Marquise, remember that.
I'll consider it, but no promises.
So yeah, you guys are currently airborne high above the jungles of Chult with Artis Cimber at the helm of the what he simply refers to as the battle balloon. If it were a waterborne ship, it would be a rather smallish merchant type vessel. There is a large ballista with about 120 degrees of traversing available to it in the bow, and on the stern there is a smaller ballista or large crossbow, however you want to look at it. For armaments, there is a Berlinia discovered at the very end of last session that the furnace that was providing the flame and the heat to fill the airbag of the battle balloon was actually powered by a captive fire elemental. The dragon bait, as mentioned, the Sauriel, who communicates through clicks and pheromone smells, is also on board, along with Merry Chultmas and the Chultmas carols, the 3 hags that are now tongueless, in the service on board the ship. Dunala is, I believe, below decks now, chilling in the cabin. Everybody else, to the best of my knowledge, is still on deck. It was getting to be towards late in the day by the time you guys got airborne, and you're heading eastward from Camp Vengeance, which you knew that you were north of the Aldani Basin. And one of the places you had intended to travel to originally was the heart of Ubtao. Vale actually did sort of dream walk after the incident with the Yanti assassins. And he communicated with a sort of emissary of Ubtao, somebody who was known simply as the voice of Ubtao. And as you are flying now, probably about 1,500 feet in the air, high enough that some of the lower clouds are just kind of sifting through the rigging and across the deck as you travel through the air, those clouds being the only indication of how fast you are actually moving. From this height, the ground doesn't appear to move very quickly below you. Vale is looking off over the starboard bow and kind of staring southward toward the Aldani Basin. And anybody that is on deck still can give a perception check or an insight check. So I believe that would be Berlinia and Ubo.
8.
And I'll roll for Dragon Bait. What'd you get, bro?
18.
Something... Vale is unnaturally quiet as he's staring off to the south over the bow. And as you're looking at him and you see him staring off to the side, I would like... Drake, can you roll a wisdom saving throw for Vale? Sure. And I don't remember what his wisdom is, so we're going to say it's +3.
16.
Berlinia, you watch as you're kind of seeing that something's off with Vale. He clutches at the railing, his knuckles almost white, and you see his knees almost buckle. And then he kind of just pulls himself back upright, leaning a little heavier on the railing than would seem normal. What would you do?
I mean, she would automatically run over to him and put her hand, like, on his shoulder. Are you okay?
He looks over first at your hand on his shoulder and then up into your eyes. And he starts to speak, but he can't seem to find the words. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I don't want to attempt Vale's accent. He mutters something under his breath that only you hear, something to the effect of, "Oh, I'll be all right." And he's going to... he seems to be almost walking kind of like you would if you were on the ocean and not used to being on a ship. A little unsteady on the deck. And he's going to go below decks and find one of the rooms and just try to get some rest.
I think she would definitely help him in any way that she could to steady him until she was sure that he was kind of secure at the bait, or in the cabin and not kind of wobbling around.
Everything about his demeanor, it almost seems like he's detached somehow. Like his mind is somewhere else. He's just sort of distracted. Barely managing to say a thank you or anything as he goes into one of the rooms, and he doesn't even climb into a hammock, really. He just sits on a footlocker. And he is just absent-mindedly toying with that ancient piece of totem that he has tied to a piece of leather around his neck. And just sort of staring off into space.
I think she senses that he kind of needs a space or time to think, and she stands at the doorway and just, all right, well, tell me if you need anything. And she would kind of wander away and look for someone else.
Ubo, what are you doing up on deck as you're flying over the jungles of Chult?
He'd probably be just keeping an eye on the hags, watching Brill if she went below deck. He would probably just watch, but knowing she was going with Vale, would probably let her go, wouldn't say anything. But it's more just kind of taking everything in. But when Brill came back without, if she came back on deck without Vale, Ubo would probably try to talk to her.
You see this worried look on her face. Her brow is just she just has this very confused face. There's something wrong with Vale. He doesn't seem like himself.
What do you mean? What is he? Did he say something? Did something happen?
No. Well, it's the lack of things he's been saying. He just seems really far away. I'm worried. He keeps playing with that totem he has around his neck and looking at it, and he seems to be lost.
Aren't we all kind of lost? I mean, we're in the middle of the jungle on a balloon.
Yes, but
maybe that's just his way. Maybe that's just how he's dealing with it. Maybe he just needs a minute. He's been the most steady one of us the whole time. If he needs a little time for him, maybe we should just let him have it.
guess you're right. It just seems so out of character for him. He always talks through everything.
Well, I'm sure you have that same ability. Maybe we just give him some time, see how he is tomorrow, and we figure out what the hell we're doing on the ship with things that I thought were our enemies. Maybe you can fill me in on who all of these people are.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you. Yeah, well, it's kind of a long story, and she would just kind of go into retelling of what had happened, how they fell through the hole with the grungs and how they had met him and everything that had happened with that. And then she would end with, so we weren't sure whether Artemis was even alive.
Huh. Sounds like I missed a lot. Well, if Vale has gotten through everything that you just told me, as well as everything else that's going on, I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm sure he's having his issues and with the Ubtao thing. You know, I think we just let him go. But Jake, who else is on the deck right now with me?
Everybody else, the three hags, Artis is at the helm. Dragonbait seems to almost be patrolling the deck. He'll walk from aft to bow and back again, pausing at each weapon and just kind of scanning. Since you're looking around, give me a perception check with advantage.
22.
You see one of the two hags that are known as the Carols is staring at you. And you recognize...
Hello, my lord.
What?
Excuse me?
That was my phone.
What is that from under your desk, Jake?
That was my phone. That was my... That was my...
my lord.
That was my... sorry. Siri is set for voice activation, and I forgot years ago I set her as to say my lord. I just never use her.
Sure, you forgot.
Also, but it did serve a purpose because it looks as though we received a $10 donation from, I believe that's from what you're looking at, who is watching on both YouTube and Twitch. So you guys are going to bump up from 4 to 6 domain dice.
Can we just make sure that Marquise doesn't get more than half of those?
So as I was saying, sorry, Siri, I don't know what I said that Siri interpreted it that I was talking to her. At any rate, you recognize that the sea hag that is watching you is the one who you last saw when you got turned into a sea turtle, a baby sea turtle. She was the one that cast the spell, and as your vision shifted and tunneled, it was her that was the one that transformed you.
And I would kind of lock eyes with her, and I wouldn't turn away, but I would say to Brill, who's still standing there, this creature keeps looking at me. She's the one that made me into that what we don't talk about.
Perhaps she wants to apologize.
Perhaps I want to see if she can fly.
You notice, Ubo, that she is holding a strand of seaweed that is about maybe a foot to 18 inches long. And she's kind of worrying it through her fingers, almost like a rosary bead. And as she's doing this, she's sort of... because she has no tongue, she's kind of mouthing some words.
Okay. So seeing this and hearing what Brill just said, Ubo would turn towards the hag. How far away is she, Jake?
The deck is only 20 feet across, so she's probably about 15 feet from you.
So he would turn, and he would still keep his eyes on her, and he would just be shaking his head and mumbling under his breath, just loud enough for Brill to hear. Maybe she wants to apologize. Maybe she wants to apologize. Sure, maybe she wants to apologize. Let's go over and see if she can apologize.
At that point, Dragonbait steps in front of you. And he is looking at you, Berlinia, since he knows, Dragonbait knows that you are the only one that has really figured out how to kind of interpret what it is that he's trying to say or communicate to you through his pheromones and clicks. And through a series of clicks and smells shifting from baked bread to honeysuckle, all positive smells, he sort of and a bit of pantomiming, he communicates to you that Carol basically she wants to communicate the only way she can, which is through a form of magical telepathy. And he's sort of indicating that she has asked his permission to do so, because they're under close scrutiny. And she wants to talk, and he kind of, through pointing, and she wants to talk to Ubo.
And Brill would just smile at Ubo. Dragonbait tells me that she wants to talk to you.
Ubo would turn around. Tells you?
Mm-hmm.
What does telling somebody you want to talk to them smell like from that thing?
A hint of lemon, some raspberries.
You actually smell these smells, Ubo.
Honestly, Ubo would just like always, okay. Okay. What do I need to do?
He says that she's going to talk to you through some sort of magic? Telepathy, I think.
Talk to me through magic. Why not? We're in a balloon over the jungle.
There's no way she would try anything. We're all here.
I want, on one condition. Ask him to ask her if you can listen too. Because if I don't want it to be what she says to me, and I want a witness. Ask her if you can listen too.
He can understand what you're saying.
Oh, okay. Then ask her if she can listen too. And I'm saying that to Dragonbait.
Sorry, you're making me look up the...
Just wing it, dude. What do you think? You know I don't care.
Dragonbait would communicate that Berlinia to just, and you could almost sense this, Ubo, that he kind of shrugs and just points to her and you. That it's basically one person to one person. Okay,
fine. You just watch me, bro. If it looks like I'm in pain or in trouble, you handle it.
In your mind, Ubo, you hear, your friend is in pain. And this hag is fiddling with this seaweed and almost talking to it. Berlinia, you can give an Arcana check if you'd like, just to see if you can figure out what she's doing exactly.
What a 9. Probably not.
Your friend is troubled. The half-elf. The one you call Vale.
And at first you'd see Ubo kind of darting his head back and forth, looking like the sound is coming from everywhere. Then, okay. Just kind of figuring out how this is supposed to work.
He has one foot in this world and one foot in another, pulled in two directions by two spiritual entities.
Okay. Sure. He's not sure what he's doing. Sure.
He wears the mark of Ubtao on his soul.
Right.
But it is tainted by dark necromancy.
Oh? Okay.
Someone has influenced him.
Who?
This is all that we can see.
How do we help him?
Keep your eyes on him. Watch him as you would watch a friend, but also as you would watch someone who you do not fully trust.
What do you think he's going to do?
Cannot see the future, can only see the state of the aura around him. He is
And there's nothing that you or your sisters can do?
This is divine magic and dark magic vying for control of his soul.
Why tell me? And not this other one. She's more into that understanding. She was in a temple in a thing, right? Why tell me?
The one you call Berlinia. Her own soul is scarred with the wounds of her past. The scar tissue clouds her judgment sometimes.
So
Your soul, though at odds with itself, seems not to be clouded by darkness or blinded by the light. Yours is undecided.
you would hear a lot of kind of audible sighs from Ubo, and he would, as they're talking, he would be kind of looking back at Brill and looking back at the hag and looking back at Brill. But she's the good one. She's the watch veil. Okay. He won't hurt anyone. I'll make sure of that.
She doesn't say anything more. You see her lower the she lowers the seaweed. Berlinia, you said you got a 9 on your Arcana. Yeah, I mean, you know she's casting a spell, but you're not familiar with what this might be. If only Dunala was on deck. Dunala, are you awake or asleep?
He's in that twilight stage, like in between, but anything could wake him right now.
Okay.
With that being finished, Brill, would you say anything to Ubo? Like, just curious before anything.
She would just have this concern and mild interest. She would wait for you to kind of say anything once it was done.
I think Ubo would just kind of nod to the hag, just kind of in acknowledgement of the step she took. Wasn't exactly an apology, but I'd walk over to Brill and I would kind of sit down sort of like Indian style, because he's quite tall, so he's probably almost as tall as you sitting if you're standing. Well, that was interesting. She had a lot to say.
Did she apologize?
No, not even close. She warned me. And Ubo would kind of hesitate with this. She warned me about Vale. That something about his soul being pulled in different directions through a divine entity and dark magic, and to keep him close and to watch him, something could happen. She said she didn't know the future, but she knows what is, and right now he's really conflicted, I think was the word. I asked her why she didn't choose you. That was even more confusing. But Vale, he's the one that's kind of held us all together. I can't think that Vale would do anything to hurt us.
I told you, he hasn't been himself. But
So what do we do? Just leave him in his room, and we have to take him where we're going, right? But he's pretty strong too. If he decides to hurt one of us, I don't know that we can stop him.
I don't know.
Could you do that trick that she just did with me to Vale? Do you know how to do that? That mental talking thing.
No, that is way beyond what I can do.
Do you think Dunala knows?
I wouldn't put it past him. I don't know. He's very
Tricky.
mysterious. Tricky. Yeah.
Is the word.
I don't know if I would trust him, to be honest.
Then for now, let's just keep this between us and watch Vale. And if you notice anything, you let me know and I'll do the same.
Dunala, give me a perception check at disadvantage.
At disadvantage? Ooh, lucky. Oh, bet. I'm fucking a god. All right, 1 second. That's a 16.
Below decks in the room that you have chosen to lay up in, the hammock puts you closer to the deck above you, and it happens that that Ubo and Berlinia are directly above you.
Mm-hmm.
And you heard the one-sided conversation that Ubo had with the sea hag, and you heard the conversation that Berlinia and Ubo just had.
Dunala lays here listening to the conversation, hearing nothing he did not suspect already. It's kind of like one of those situations like when you know you're being cheated on, right? But you're not like, you don't actually know you're being cheated on, like you're being betrayed, but you have the instinct of it. Dunala's had the instinct with all three of them since they've threatened to kill him multiple times. That's kind of what sowed that. So hearing the conversation, he doesn't open his eyes. He just nods and he listens. And when it comes to everything about Vale, I remember is when Vale woke the night of the ones he attacked and talked about how he went to the heart of Uptao, and he makes a mental note to ensure that we end up going to the heart of Uptao before we ever head on to Omu proper, because he thinks that's going to have a bunch of answers that they need to solve.
All right. So you continue your flight over the jungles of Chult. Far below you, as I stall while I find the map. Where did the map go? My post-it note that was marking it slipped out. There it is. So, you're flying north of the Dunali Basin, or Eldani Basin, not the Dunali. I'm giving, there's an entire basin named after you, Dunala.
He's famous.
And you begin flying over the jungles. To the north, anybody looking over might see as you fly above a sort of swampy area, and you can see far below what almost looks like a from above it looks like a hedge maze surrounding a small island. As you continue flying east, far to the south, you can see the three smoldering peaks of flame, the still active volcanoes. Even further to the west, you can see another smoldering volcano. There seems to be about a half a dozen of them scattered along the horizon in the southern regions of Chult. Ubo, far to the south, where the skyline is just a little bit hazy, beyond the mountains, beyond the peaks of flame, you can see the far coast of Chult. And beyond there is a small island known as the Snout of Umgar, a place you call home. As you continue for a few hours, and the sun is just starting to dip toward the horizon. That's actually a good point. I think you guys will have been on this ship long enough that you can benefit from a long rest. It was getting on in the day, and by the time the sun is setting and through all the conversations and just chilling out, we'll say that you can benefit from a long rest. Sweet. On the ship. So go ahead, and everybody would be healed up, spell slots restored. If you had previously expended any hit dice, you would receive half of those. I believe that's how that works. I would like... So after all this time, as the sun is setting, who is still on deck?
I would stay.
Ubo?
I think Berlinia would too. If the conversation between Ubo and Berlinia kind of went away, she would actually just be staring at the fire elemental, just kind of in awe of the fact that it kind of powers this whole thing.
Artis, after a while, Artis would kind of make a whistle and a couple clicks, and Dragonbait would make his way up the stairs, up the stern castle, and would take the helm from Artis. And Artis comes down and comes alongside you. Sure is something, isn't it?
It's just so amazing that it just stays there.
Well, there are enchantments that keep it in place.
And at that, her face would kind of fall. Oh. So you mean it's locked in there?
Well, yes. This does not sit well with you, does it, Berlinia?
No. No, it doesn't. This thing should be free. I don't know. It just doesn't seem right to trap something with this much power away. Keep it hidden.
You must understand, Berlinia. Sometimes, when these elementals come into our plane, this one coming from the elemental plane of fire, their very nature causes them to seek out destruction, to set fire to everything. I like to think that whoever imprisoned this fire elemental in this furnace did so in order to protect the realm, or at least those in immediate danger, most likely unable to send it back. So perhaps this is a better thing for it than to simply be killed or to be allowed to run free.
I just wish we could just send it home where it wants to be. But no, you're right. I guess.
I admire that about you, Berlinia. You seem to seek out the best in everyone around you. This is an admirable trait.
I haven't been told that often, and it's gotten me in more trouble than good as of yet.
Don't let anyone take that away from you, Berlinia. This thing, this desire to see even something as chaotic as this fire elemental be set free, be returned to its home. This is, at its heart, a very good thing. Something you should foster and not allow anyone to dampen.
A slow smile would kind of creep across Berlinia's face. Thank you, Artis.
He just simply smiles with that sort of almost rosy, jolly cheeks, Father Chultmas kind of twinkle in his eye as he sort of smiles, and then just gives out a hearty, well, we're still going to have a few hours. It should probably be close towards morning before we arrive in Kirsabal. I know most of you have been resting throughout the journey so far, but we should have several more hours of rest. I suggest you get some sleep if you are able.
Yes, I think I will. And Berlinia would stand and head towards the downstairs, but she wouldn't go into a room. She would head to where Vale is and just kind of check in on him.
Peering into the room, you would find that Vale has climbed into one of the hammocks and is softly snoring away, his totem clutched firmly in his hand. That's not a euphemism, his necklace.
She would step in and close the door, and she would, back against the wall, she would slide down and sit. And she would just begin, she would kind of scoot up till she's at like the foot of the hammock, and she would begin muttering prayers to Ilmater to protect him, and to maybe, if she would pray for whatever evil, whatever suffering this is, to be passed from him onto her. And just this fervency, and she would do that for the rest instead of sleeping.
I would like you to give me just give me a straight up religion check.
Save or die.
That is a 19.
Save.
You feel, as you pray, you feel a peace not wipe away what you are feeling, the fears and the concern you feel for Vale or for your other friends, but you feel it just sort of wrapped in light, wrapped in a divine energy. You feel a connection with the divine force whom you are praying to. And that is why I would like you to make a perception check with advantage. Everybody else, if you are on deck, make a straight perception check. If you are below decks, make it at disadvantage.
That's a 14 from Dunana.
19.
16.
Dunala hears nothing. Whether in meditation or sound asleep, lost in your own dreams, you hear nothing, Dunala. Ubo, you hear, it almost seems to be coming from below you. Were you in, where were you, Ubo, by the way?
Would have probably been talking to Brill and then just kind of lean back against the edge of the rail, whatever it was. And apparently I'm directly on top of Dunala during all that. So
you hear this sound. It actually seems to be coming from kind of over the railing and far below. And Berlinia, you catch this sound on the wind. This sort of kind of a distant screeching sound. It's too bad Dunala's the only one that has a chance of recognizing what that is. He didn't hear anything.
Meditation, man. It's a hell of a drug.
So Ubo would quickly get up, startled probably, and take a look over the side, see what he could hear.
Port or starboard? Port being left, starboard being right. As you look over the edge, you see far below you, and you would first notice, at this point the sun has dipped below the horizon. It's that twilight state where everything is in these weird hues of purple. And you would notice first off that the battle balloon has descended about half the distance. You are now only about 700 or 800 feet above the jungles. You notice below you and a little ways to the north, though it's hard to judge distance from this height, you can see a bright flame burning, and it illuminates a spire around it. It's kind of difficult to even get a gauge of how tall things are from this height, with you having no point of reference, having never been this high. But you see shapes some distance below you, crisscrossing, shadows flying. Son of a bitch. That's what happens when you look in the chat.
Shut the chat off, Jake.
Yeah, you'll I'll stop looking at the chat. I'll treat the chat as it's for you guys, not me.
It is completely
man, come in here whenever you want, Jake. I always got something for you.
You see shadows moving between you and the fire. Something is in the air. Something, from this distance, they almost look like large bats far below you. And it's from there that you hear the screeching sound.
Artis, Brill, Dunala, there's something out here. May want to come see. I would say that as loud as I would think they would hear me.
Dragonbait quickly moves again to relieve Artis at the helm, as Artis shifts over to the side where you are, and you would have known that one of the hags actually climbed up the rigging at one point and was perched up on top of the balloon in the crow's nest that was up there. And as you move to the port side, Artis just motions and the other two move to the starboard side. Because as you guys are moving kind of quickly, especially you, Ubo, as you lean toward the railing, you notice the airship just kind of lists a little bit. It's not in danger of tipping because there's a huge air-filled balloon above you, but there's a bit of shifting that takes place, and Artis comes up alongside you. What is it, Ubo? What do you see?
Just shadows and that sound. Don't you hear that sound? Is that normal on this ship?
I was hoping we were high enough to avoid them. I shouldn't have come down so soon. There's a reason you don't see a lot of airships over the jungles of Chult. The Terrafolk usually attack them and bring them down. The Terrafolk. They are sort of humanoidish dinosaurs that fly. Native to Chult here. Sort of like large flying dinosaurs, but with slightly humanoid, though don't mistake them for having any form of civility. They are vicious and they are cruel.
So what do we do?
We kill them, Ubo. because Dunala has wakened since you screamed out for the others. He's standing there at the top of the stairs and he's looking towards you. His eyes jade green. They're clearly like the Wanty snake version. And he looks at you and he says, "We kill them quickly, and we keep on flying."
I would look at Brill if she was coming up.
Yeah, she's just coming up as well.
Like, if Brill heard that, I would kind of look for her nod or her reaction.
She would actually just look to Artis and just, must we? Must we kill them?
Well, they seem to be at least a couple 100 feet below us. If we're lucky, they're simply patrolling that area there. You'll see the flame far below. That is a large spire of rock known as the Fire Finger. It is the last of the signal fires that long ago were located all over Chult. The Terrafolk have taken it over. They have made it a sort of lair. Unfortunately, this is also a sign that we go close to Kier Sabal. The Terrafolk and the Aarakocra of Kier Sabal are, well, embattled. They are bitter enemies. Every so often, the Terrafolk send sorties into Kier Sabal and attack. Occasionally, they capture Aarakocra. But they're almost always able to retrieve their lost people. The Terrafolk are generally a nuisance. Hopefully not for us this night. I will attempt to bring us higher again. We may have to circle around Kier Sabal in the morning and come in from the east and descend from above. And with that, Artis moves back toward the helm. And the Dragonbait and the other two sisters, Carol and Mary, are manning some of the rigging. Dragonbait is moved to the ballista in the bow. Artis motions to the smaller ballista behind him on the railing of the stern. Would one of you care to mend this? It's just a precaution, mind you. Well, don't just raise your hand, Ubo. Get up here. Have you ever fired a crossbow? Have you ever pulled a lever? It's as simple as that. He quickly shows you how it's kind of like a small ballista or a large crossbow mounted horizontally, and it has about 120 degrees of rotation. A very large, thick wooden bolt is in it. There are about a dozen more in a wooden cylinder next to it on the ground or on the deck. And he shows you how you can, really quickly, he says, this crank here, if you rotate it after you have fired, it will draw back the firing mechanism. Place one of the bolts in it, and you are ready to fire again by pulling these two levers, as he indicates on either side of a set of handholds. If you pull that pin there, you can move it up and down as well. I hope we don't need it. And then he says, he makes a couple motions, and there's a and the deck illuminates with the bright illumination as the fire elemental is somehow, by means you can't really even see, Berlinia, something causes the fire elemental to surge, the heat rising up out of the furnace and filling the balloon more, causing the balloon to begin to rise. All around it, the clouds are illuminating. Ubo, make a perception check. Dunala, what are you doing?
17.
Dunal is looking at how the light is being cast on the clouds. Is it like widespread, like just basically shooting out everywhere? Like, could he like manipulate his darkness somehow to be able to stop it from making all this light, or no?
It's just kind of like if you stoked a fire and it's illuminating what's nearby, that's what it's doing.
Dunala does like a circular like motion with his hand and makes a fist, and around the balloon and the immediate fire elemental, he is casting darkness centered on that, so that way there is no light coming from this fire elemental.
What is your radius or your diameter?
Let me check real quick.
Of your darkness, it's
It's a 15-foot radius sphere.
So it's a 30-foot sphere centered on the furnace.
Yeah. Well, it's like centered on a balloon. It's basically trying to like lower it so that way it covers the balloon and the fire elemental.
Okay.
But not like.
So I'm gonna say, because it is a sphere of darkness, and if you kind of position it so that the bottommost part of the sphere encases the furnace, for 5 feet around the furnace, everything is in darkness.
All right.
And most of the balloon, it doesn't quite reach up to the top of the balloon. But it's covering most of the balloon itself and covering the furnace. With that, I need to see if you were seen. Too many books.
No such thing.
This is true. I love having like 6 D&D books open in front of me. Seriously, I love that. Ooh, okay, that's passive activist +2. Oh, that is a crit on perception.
Damn, not even disadvantage with the darkness? This shit blows.
You have, well, it's not so much the light, though, is the sound.
I want to use the
well.
domain dice and re-roll it, please. Thanks.
There you go. The first person to force me to re-roll with a domain die.
He didn't roll the real crit. He just said so we can use the domain die.
Thank you, whoever gave us that.
I need to get a second camera for my dice. It's a nat 20 sitting here, but I will re-roll it. And that is... So here's what I'm going to do.
I somehow got a 30.
No. I rolled 2 nat 20s. Oh, I was rolling my D30. No. I rolled a 17 total. But what I need from you guys is... Dunala, I'm going to have you roll stealth at advantage.
That's gonna be, give me, do I have proficiency in that? Nope, that's gonna be a 15.
So, you were able to get the darkness up over the furnace and quell the light. It's doing nothing to stop the sound. And you only did it after you watched the light dancing off of the clouds. And from the sound of the screeching, as it grows closer, you know that you have been seen.
Shit.
You sense, and Ubo, I believe you had a really high perception on that initial check. So you kind of already have eyes on these things and an awareness of where they are. So I'm going to give you guys a moment to strategize as you, an unknown number of terrafolk, are rising up to meet the airship. So go ahead, and whoever wants to bark some orders or describe how you're going to ready yourself to deal with these airborne threats.
Well, the first thing is, Drake, you said that I would know where they were coming from. I would have a pretty good idea of the direction.
They're coming from below you.
Okay. But you said I had a high perception roll. Did I get anything from that except just to know that they're below me?
You know that they're rising up from below.
Okay.
You really can't see, and it's hard to hear, and you know they're coming. So
okay,
you have that advantage. And that's what's allowing you to ready yourselves.
Yeah, so
basically, mechanically, you guys are going to get essentially a surprise round. You're going to be able to all act before they can ever act.
Okay. Then I would just let them know that they're coming and then talk to these guys about
Where are they coming from?
from below us. Can't you hear? I don't know how many, but they're definitely coming.
Do not also get in position where you can look over the railing and fireball once they come within range.
Berlinia?
Which side?
Just below.
I mean,
I'm gonna say left side.
Brill, do you want to take the right?
Linya nods and heads towards the right side, and she is going to cast an Eldritch Blast as soon as she sees one.
And Ubo, I'll ready one of the bolts, but if I get a couple of those within 15 feet, I'm going to try something else. So we'll see how that goes. Does anybody have any light that maybe we could shoot up, or besides a fireball shooting down, we're going to kind of need to see them around us. Can we put more light around us? Do we have anything that can do that?
In theory, yes, but not on the first turn because I can only cast one spell. I don't need light, however, because I have magic eyes.
Okay, well,
so.
I don't. And I'm shooting the ballista, so I need to...
Wait, you can just shoot a stun bolt with a bonus action, can't you?
Yes, I can, but it moves after the sunbolt.
Well, just shoot it upwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ubo.
Just like a flare, just like the last time. We did that.
Yeah, we did this before. What are we talking about?
I'm sorry. Stupid. Okay, gotcha.
Well, Ubo, as you mentioned that about the... Can anybody cast light?
My darkness is gone, by the way, since it's useless.
How long did it last? A minute?
It lasts a minute, but I would have turned it off before this fight.
Okay.
Start flying up.
Sorry, I'm looking like in 3 books at once. Does anybody have a DMG handy?
No. It's
I
in the
could in 30 seconds.
It would be helpful if somebody could look up siege weapons to get the statistics for the ballistas on the ship. Because you'll need those. As Ubo, both of the hags that marry in one of the carols that are on deck, as you're asking about the light, they just kind of tap you on the shoulder, and they both, you can see their hands begin to glow as they're preparing to cast some sort of spell, and Artis looks at them and just says, "Good, wait."
Page 255, by the way. Sorry.
255, thank you.
Yeah.
And they're basically readying to cast dancing lights. So you will get some light at the start of this. 255, so I will have those stats. It's basically whoever's firing with the ballistas, if I remember correctly, is going to get like a +6. And then I have the damage as well for those ballista bolts. So we're going to go ahead and roll initiative for all of you. And the... Yeah, there we go.
15.
I will roll for mine, so I will get your rolls in a moment. Wow. That sucks.
You know what, really? I have a feat for initiative, and since I've picked up that feat, I have not rolled above a 10 on the dice. What is the point?
That's funny. Okay, Ubo.
6.
Brill.
21.
Somebody roll for Artis real quick.
3.
I also rolled a 3.
Wow. Maybe I shouldn't have you guys roll for these guys.
You want to do dragon bait?
Megan, do the hags.
Yeah, 3. So, let's see. Artis got that. Somebody roll for Dragon Bait.
15.
So that's... Somebody roll for the hags.
Meg.
13.
Okay, so There's a 13. Okay, I think I got everybody. So it looks like it's going to be Berlinia, Dragonbait, the Hags. Wow, this was close. Ubo. Wait, what did you have?
15 for Dunala.
Hold on. This is weird. I did not rate you. I didn't even write Dunala down on my list of characters.
I'm not doing no combats today, boss.
What'd you get, a 15?
Yeah, 15.
Okay, sorry. New order. So it's going to go Berlinia, Dragonbait, Dunala, the Hags, Ubo, Artis, and the Terrafolk are last. So you guys are going to get 2 full rounds before the Terrafolk even get to act as they come into view. So, Berlinia, what are you going to do? Now keep in mind, the Hags don't have a chance to act yet, so they can't get their light spell off yet. So you're reacting, and Dunala dropped the darkness spell. So basically, if they come within 10 feet of the edge of the ship, you can see them easily. Berlinia, remind me, do you have dark vision?
I do, yes.
All right, so you can see them if they come within 60 feet of the vessel. And they are. You can see at least... you can see at least a half a dozen of them flitting up into the edge of your vision. What would you do?
She would immediately aim 2 Eldritch Blasts at one of them, probably the closest one to the ship. But she wants to aim at their wings in order to...
De-wingify them.
She wants to free the fire elemental, but cripple the Terrafolk. All right, go ahead and... there's no disadvantage since you have dark vision and you can see them. So go ahead and make your attack.
So I got an 11 and a 25.
1 miss and 1 hit.
And so the one that hits does 15 points of damage, and I can actually push it away 10 feet.
So as the bolt, one goes screeching past, illuminating it as it just dodges, but it turns into the second blast, catching it in one wing and sending it spiraling away 10 feet into the darkness, just outside the edge of your vision, and you lose sight of it as you connect with it. Any other thing you can do on this turn?
No, she's just going to get ready for another hit.
Dragonbait, you can see that he is expertly maneuvering this ballista at the front of the ship, and he's kind of moving back and forth, and you can kind of hear it, and then he kind of adjusting it up and down, and he's going to take a shot, and that is going to be somebody roll the attack. I'm going to have you guys roll attacks for these guys.
How much is it?
Okay, I want to go with Drake's because mine's pretty high.
So is mine, but wait.
All right, Drake, I'll have you roll Dragonbait.
Okay,
through this
how much
combat.
is his plus?
So it's going to be his dexterity plus 6. So, yeah, so it's plus 6.
14.
Oh, I had a 13 on the die. Dragonbait would have been smacking hoes if it was me.
All right, go ahead and roll a... Whoa. Roll 3d10, Drake.
Okay, 1 second. So
When I said that, Meg was like smacking hoes.
15. 10. So 25.
You hear this sort of... It's not even... It's so heavy. There's not even like a fwing. You just hear this... And there's a jolt to the ship. Just a subtle vibration through the ship. And then you hear... As this bolt pierces through one of the Terrafolk, and it careens away in the darkness, dead. Dunala, you're up.
So I have 120 feet dark vision. I'm looking for a cluster that looks like it might be too far away for Berlinia to see.
So with your extended dark vision, you can see that there are, after this one kind of, you actually see it get struck by the bolt and careen off into the down below into the darkness. You can see that there are now a total of 7 terrafolk flying about throughout the air, and you're looking for a cluster.
Yeah.
You do not find a cluster. I rolled a d4 to see if they were clustered up, and I got a 1. They seem to be keeping enough distance between them that they're not clustered up.
Okay, so the easiest way to make something cluster up is to kind of pincer it. So he looks down to the terrafolk at the bottom of this flying chain. As he does so, the fire elemental begins to whine, like it's like a high-pitched like screech, and it begins to change colors to black and green, as Dunala steals his things, dreams, and his nightmares. And he points down to this terrafolk at the bottom. He needs to make me a DC 16 dex save or take a fuck ton of fireball damage.
It's a what kind of check? Dex.
Mm-hmm.
As there's this.
Exactly.
That is an 18 on the die for Dex.
Half, so it's going to take 18. Yeah, 18 points of fire damage. As it blinks once, and then that dream of green flame and black flame just kind of baptizes it in the air, and hopefully illuminates the ones above it so Brill can bend.
There is, let's see who's up next in the order. Is one of the hags, and they're not really taking an offense at this moment. But yeah, there is, as it strikes it, there's an illumination, and the rest of you can kind of see now that there are 7 flying all around in this sudden sort of greenish illumination of light. The light persists and seems to flit about as all 3 hags in unison cast dancing lights, and a total of 12 orbs of light are now completely rotating. It's almost like your ship is now a nucleus, and these things of light are shooting all around it, and now everybody, without the aid of dark vision, can see. There's so many of these that the shadows, though they flicker, are not too distracting, and you can see an almost constant illumination with a little bit of a strobe effect as the terrafolk flit through the air, and their wings seem to kind of as they are flying in and around. And then that takes us to Ubo now with clear vision of 7 remaining terrafolk.
Was did I hear right? Did you have Dragon Bait use the ballista?
The front ballista. You're on the rear one.
Okay. Do I see anything within range of this ballista in front of me?
Yes. They're pretty much, they seem to be on all sides of you, and you have 120 degrees of rotation, so you can get a shot on one of, let's see.
Whatever the closest one is.
You can get a clear shot on one. So that is going to be a +6 to your dexterity.
It's a 19 to hit.
That is going to hit. So you're going to roll 3d10.
That's only 18.
You see as this ballista just thum and kind of vibrates your arms as you're holding onto these 2 triggers. And the bolt, this giant bolt, careens through the air, and one of the terrafolk seems to kind of spin out of the way and hits it, which knocks it just askew a little bit as it pierces through the side of another one. In the strobing light of the dancing lights, you see a kind of spray of blood from this terrafolk, and it stutters in its flight, but it maintains its hovering in the air. It does not, if you, reloading is part of your action, so you would be able to fire again if you quickly follow Artis's instructions and reload another bolt.
Absolutely.
For are you at the point where you have 2 attacks?
I actually have 3.
Hold on a second.
But the third is a martial arts
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah, but it's two base attacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You wouldn't be able to use that. Sorry. I'm kind of adjusting on the fly here. It actually takes 3 actions to use this thing. So I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say you're able to shoot it. This one's a little bit smaller. You're able to shoot it and reload it as part of your action. So that would kind of take away your extra attack. Do you want to stay on the gun, or is there anything else you want to do?
Unless I could use a bonus action to throw one of my sunbolts out, then no.
Is Sunbolt a bonus action or an action?
If I hit, I can toss one of those out as a bonus.
You hit, yeah. If that's
within 30 feet.
Yeah.
I think within 30 feet. Okay.
You're gonna aim for the one you just hit.
Yeah. It's gonna be 15 to hit.
Hit. What does this look like?
It's just as he kind of pulls back from the thing, and he very quickly pulls the thing back, winds it, realizes he can feel this kind of heat starting in his arm, and it begins to glow and goes up to his hand. And as it kind of gets to this bright light, where it's almost hard to see, he tosses it. It's not even like he shoots it. He throws it like a baseball at the closest thing to him, hopefully the one that he just hit, just trying to singe it in some way. And that's going to be 6 points of radiant damage.
Do you have to roll an attack on it, or?
Yes.
Did you roll an attack on it?
Yeah, I said 15 to
Oh,
hit.
that's right. My bad. So you did 6 points of damage?
Yeah, I did 6 additional points, hopefully to the
what does it look like when it hits this sunbolt, hits this Terrafolk and destroys it?
I would think I would imagine it's the one that got stuck in its side, that it was just barely hanging on, and when this sunbolt hits this thing, I imagine he hits it in the wing, and the wing just starts to just kind of catch fire, and very quickly the feathers just until you see one wing in flames, and with the light of that fire kind of illuminating everything, you just see it kind of spinning as it falls out of the sky in this kind of like death spiral.
It's like the Chult version of a enemy fighter plane in World War II spiraling down into the darkness.
There you go.
Combined with when you kill a vampire in Blade kind of thing.
Go.
That's what I see. Awesome. Fantastic. That's another one down by Ubo. And that's going to take us to Artis. And Artis, you see, Artis actually steps away from the helm. And he moves toward the one of the side. We're going to say he moves towards the starboard side of the ship. And he seems to be scanning around, and as he is looking around, you see him hold his hand up, and he has a ring that's glinting in the light of your Sun Soul attack. And as he holds this ring aloft, there's a sort of ice blue looking, it's like his fist is illuminated in this ice blue light, and his fist seems to grow and emerge from his wrist as a massive hand of ice as he casts Bigby's hand, and he's going to strike with it at a one of the things. Somebody roll me a d20, and you're gonna add. Trying to find what his spellcasting modifier is.
I have a 14 on the die, so there's no way this misses.
No, that's gonna hit. I don't see what his spellcasting modifier is, but yeah, that's gonna hit. So go ahead and roll me 4d8.
What the hell? Alright, so it's 6, 8, 10, 15 points of damage.
as this ice blue fist punches one of the Terrafolk. And it kind of tries to maintain its flight. And that's going to take us to the Terrafolk, of which only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them remain.
Wait, is this still a surprise round?
Oh wait, you're right. Sorry. Thank you. Yes. So that takes us through to back to the top of the order with Berlinia, because you had prepped, so you got that full advantage of that round. So Berlinia, you're up.
He's going to outstretch your hands and just let loose another 2 blasts. Again, trying not to hit the bodies, but just trying to more deter them than anything.
Are you going to... Are you looking for anyone in particular that they've been wounded, or trying to find one that hasn't been wounded, or are you just shooting indiscriminately?
I think she wouldn't know what to look for. She's just shooting indiscriminately.
Okay. Go ahead and roll attacks.
It's a 16 and a 12.
Both of those are going to hit. So roll the damage on the first one first.
Okay, that's 15 damage.
What does it look like as the Eldritch Blast knocks one of the Terrafolk out of the air?
I can imagine she just kind of hones in on one, and she lets out a blast of this radiance, and it just kind of clips their wing. And you can see the wing kind of smoking a bit, maybe a bit of a gash in it, but it's enough so that the Terrafolk cannot fly, or at least can't fly well, and so has to kind of, and with the push, it kind of pushes him, or pushes the Terrafolk down away from sight, and the Terrafolk just kind of drops.
Yeah, and you lose sight of it, unsure of what its true fate is, as it dips out of your view and below the ship. And this happens with your first blast, so you can target another one with the second blast, which would be a hit with that roll. So go ahead and roll damage on the second one.
That is 7 points of damage.
So you knock another one out of the air. In the same fashion, I imagine. It's just kind of a... just 2 quick shots as 2 more of these things disappear. Dragonbait is struggling as you see him moving as fast as he can. His ballista is much larger than the one that Ubo is using, and he's getting the bolts settled into place, and you can hear the as he's turning the crank and reloading it, as he's using this action this turn to reload the ballista and get it ready to fire. And then that takes us from Dragonbait to Dunala.
Has Belinda had a nightmare since Cole's died?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. For a microsecond, literally less than a breath, Belinda experiences a fraction of that nightmare again. And that green flame has turned blue now, and the whining is turning into like a full-blown screaming, as if someone is screaming. And Dunala just very methodically points at another one of these Terrafolk and ignites it with another fireball. So dex save, if you would, sir.
Alright, I'm covering my dice. That is
Choose
going to be
one that looks healthy.
That is a fail. That is a 4 on the die, so a 5 total on that dex save.
It's going to be 32 points of damage, as both the nightmares of this elemental and the nightmares Brillinia has suffered just ignite all over this thing.
What does it look like as you immolate this?
I imagine the first thing that happens is a standard flame nightmare, so it's green and black. And then, if anyone's looking at it, especially if Brillinia sees the explosion, she would see the reflection of Cole's dead face in it for just a moment before that fades away and the Terrafolk just falls out of the sky, a burnt husk.
Excellent. Ubo.
same deal. Just going to be shooting.
There are, from what you can tell, there are 2 that are still flying around, and
How far away are they?
one of them flits up from below and kind of, it's about 20 feet away from you as it flits up, and you see it. It seems to be calling out, and there's only one weak cry from the far side of the ship. And you see it as it kind of goes, and it looks like it's about to try to fly away.
Do I have enough room to get 5 feet before it flies away?
To get 5 feet and
closer to it?
You're already on the stern at the railing. 5 feet closer would put you overboard.
Okay, so no. Okay, then I'm just going to shoot. I'm going to shoot this thing at it again.
All right, take a shot.
That's going to be 24 to hit. And you said 3d10.
Oh, yeah, that absolutely hits.
It's 10, 19, so that's 26 points of damage.
Just go ahead and describe what it looks like as you strike this thing.
I just imagine very similar that as it's taking that last little push to go to the left, that it almost hits it like in the neck shoulder area, and the one wing stops. The one wing is beating, but this wing's not burnt, but the one wing just completely stops. So this creature tries to keep itself up with one wing as blood's pouring out of this ballista bolt that's attached to it. But it kind of does the same thing, that kind of death spiral down. You know it's dead when it lands, but basically it just stopped using one of its wings. That's all. Nothing crazy.
Aarakocra remains, and you can hear as it sounds like it's trying.
Terrafolk.
What did I say? Aarakocra?
Yeah,
sorry, Terrafolk. Drake threw me off when he said feathers earlier. One of the Terrafolk, they don't have feathers, is you can hear it crying out that as it's beginning to try to, it actually like starts to fold its wings and kind of just lean over like it's going to dip down out of sight. You guys, in the space of just moments, have obliterated these things. You see Artis is already wheeling his Bigby's hand around, kind of pointing at it, still holding his clenched fist with that ring on it. And I would like all 3 of you to make perception checks real quick.
19.
14.
I got a 4.
Sick.
What'd you get, Dunella?
14.
Ubo, you're the only one that hears.
Figures.
From off to the side, near where the stairs are by the stern castle that lead down, you hear Vale's voice as he says, "Enough." And then you hear twing as a arrow is loosed. And Dunala, I think you might be the only one that would actually be able to see this because of the range of your vision. I'll just check. Dancing Lights provides. Nope. You're the only one that sees as this arrow flies through the air and strikes this last Aarakocra. And as it does so, it hits, and the shaft of the arrow seems to explode into vines that wrap around the wings that were already folded as it was going into a dive. And you see it struggling to try to break free from these vines as it begins careening into the darkness beyond your dark vision. Vale walks over to the edge, and now everybody can see that Vale is on deck. He looks over the edge to where this Terrafolk is careening into the darkness. He's at the port side of the airship. And he looks back at all of you, and he points down with another arrow that he's pulled. He's pointing with the arrow at the flame below, at what Artis indicated was the fire finger. And he just says, "Oh, they came from there. Ubtao tells me we need to go there. Now. And that's where we're going to end tonight.
Okay.
I told you guys it was going to be a little bit of a short session. But I think that was good. Some good RP on deck, trying to figure some things out about where you guys are headed now and what's going on, and learned a few things about what may or may not be Vexing Veil. Yeah. I'm hoping that Mike will be back in time. I do not hold it against him if he's not, as he's on his honeymoon all week. He just didn't know if they were going to be back in time, and I told him not to prioritize it. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, this was session 28, Aarakocra's Eye View of Chult of Personality campaign from A Tomb of Annihilation, D&D 5th edition. As always, a tremendous thank you to Marquise, Drake, and Megan for always putting everything into their characters and just making this campaign a blast. I'm going to give you each a chance to, if you got anything specific you want to plug, but I do have a couple things to plug. Most notably, this Thursday, this Tuesday, is Gaslights in the Gloam, is a Shadows Over Drift Chapel adventure kit playtest. I have a set of playtest rules that's very limited, so I've gathered 5 players, and we'll be running a Drift Chapel playtest on Tuesday. It'll be about 3 hours right here on Mini Terrain Domain, YouTube, and Twitch. And then on Thursday, we will be running our Sunless Citadel campaign time slot. We will be running a one-shot called Salvage Operation that is actually it's the adventure is written by Mike Merles in Dungeon Magazine number 123. It was actually written originally for 4th edition, and I'm modding it for 5th edition, and I'm going to season it with some Gloam flavoring because it just happens to kind of fit in that same space. And our own Megan will be present for that one, as she is part of that, along with DM Scotty from the DM's Craft and V from the Crafting Muse, as well as DM Jason, who is one of our viewers and a friend of our channels. I'm calling him a friend of the channel now, but was invited by V. So keep an eye on the channel, follow the channel, subscribe, all that good stuff to keep up to date on all the cool things we're going to be doing coming up. In about a month and a half, we have a Halloween night Kids on Bike RPG game coming up. And guess what? Megan's a part of that one too. Along with some people I've gathered from Twitter, one person that's a real life friend who is also a voice actor, and a couple other people. So we're going to have a lot of fun on the channel here. With that, we're going to go in reverse order. Plug what you want to plug, and say your goodbyes. Dunala, Marquise.
I'm Marquise, and you can only barely see me because the camera makes it look a lot darker in this room than it really is. But off topics aside, scavengerworld.net. Go check it out. It's going to be fantastic. And we'll start putting up interest posts and ab tab real soon for that world is too, to get more people to follow it. So that's it for right now.
All right, and Marquise, if you ever, if you have anything you want to do for advertising for that, if you want a promotion or anything like pre-roll, hit me up. I'm sure we can make something happen. Drake, are you there or did you leave?
I think he did.
He might have dipped, as
What
he
a
does.
old man.
So we'll jump over to Megan.
Yes, hi, I'm Megan. I run the YouTube channel, Dice on Ice. Join us. Actually, never mind.
Leave us alone.
Leave us alone.
Do you still have something secretive going on?
I do.
Because you
And
teased
it's
something last
going to
week.
be- yes, it is going to be up on my channel probably next week. It's something different. I just completed a lot of it, and I'm really, really excited, and I hope you guys like it.
Dancing lessons.
And also, at the beginning of this stream, there was the commercial for Cryfoth, which is a setting supplement that I co-wrote. So if you are interested in that kind of setting, then go on to Drive-Thru-RPG and get your copy. And I think that's it. So thanks.
Excellent. And hopefully Vale will be back with us next week. So, from all of us here at Mini Terrain Domain, we're going to sign off as we always do with a hearty omitted.